Hi everyone. The name of this piece is called Castle Town, and the name really comes from the name of a road which is in my neighborhood, and it is called the Castle Town Road. And it's quite littered with different information. And at first glance, it seems almost as if everything is just there randomly. But there's quite a history to this piece. Now, I think I should give you guys a basic idea of firstly what my neighborhood's like, um, the history of my neighborhood as well, and it might just piece everything together and put it in a different context for you. So before I get into the work itself, a brief history about Weinberg, where this road is situated. It was founded in 1683, and it was actually land that was granted to a man by the name of Herman Virkens. There's not a lot of information available in the archives or online about Herman Virkens, but it was granted by the governor of the Dutch colony, of the Dutch Cape Colony at that time, whose name was Simon van der Stal. He's been recorded quite a bit, and you can look him up to find out about who he was. And he granted this land to Herman Virkens, and Herman Virkens then um, it was farmland, and he named it De Oude Wynberg, which meant Old Wine Mountain. Now the Cape Colony had very rough seas, and the winter months um, were terrible, and this led to winter anchorage in 1743, where all the ships that would usually dock in another area on the coast, which was Simons Bay. Today we call it Simonstown. Um, so all the ships would dock there. So if you think about the distance, there's quite a big distance between Simonstown and the actual city area in Cape Town. So this was really Weinberg was really developed as this halfway stop almost. And when the British took control of the Cape in, I think it was 1795, um, this small farming area started developing quite rapidly and turned into a garrison town. And the British, they sort of settled. And so I think I've actually got some, let me just, if I just zoom out of this quickly. Um, takes us to, for example, the Anglo-Boer War, the second one. Let me just get it up for you. Yeah, so this is an actual photograph that I found online. Um, and this is showing, at the bottom here, it reads here, the military camp at Weinberg has been turned into a military hospital. We see this gentleman sitting over here looking directly at the camera, and we see some injured soldiers here at the back as well. And it goes on to say Weinberg is a fair-sized village on the eastern side of Table Mountain and ranks as one of the most healthy among foreign stations. The scene in our illustration shows one of the tents in the hospital. The man on the right is the orderly of the RAMC in charge of the patients. The three photographs of the hospital are by J.E. Bruton, Cape Town. And the title there, Inside a Tent in the Field Hospital at Weinberg. So that's a bit of the history of the area. People of note, there's been quite a few people of note that have been in Weinberg. I know Charles Darwin, he visited in Weinberg, and he met with the botanist Herschel. That was in 1836. And so this brings us to present day Weinberg. I'm going to show you a view from Google Maps just to give you an idea of what Weinberg is like today. And this is Castletown Road over here. It's quite a long road. Adjacent to this road is the railway tracks. So there's a lot of foot activity. There's lots of people always walking up and down. If I scroll further up to this area over here, this is the taxi rank area. and many people commute from here. There are little small informal stores as well. They are selling, everything from food to fruit and vegetables, and then the train station itself, which you can see here, Station Road, is over here, and that then meets up with the main road area. What's interesting still about Weinberg is just the contrast of how it is split. There's somewhat of a contrast between the two areas in the neighborhood, which has the main road running all the way through it over here. And so you've got these two areas, which are both suburban areas, but they look very different. And they've got very different class of people living in them as well. Um, as you go up over the main road, you find a much wealthier class of people, um, and it runs all the way up here, and it looks very different aesthetically as well in comparison to what the lower area of Weinberg looks like. So it's a very fascinating neighborhood, and as an artist to observe the different happenings and the different people, the different communities that live in Weinberg. It is quite a mix. I'll just give you a quick street view as well of Castletown Road. There we go. This is Castletown Road. It looks like your average suburb road. It runs all the way down, and like I was talking about earlier on, this is the train tracks over here, and this runs adjacent to Castletown Road over here. So let me close that down quickly, and just to get back to the painting itself. Um, there we go. Oops. Okay, so back to the painting. So over here we see the sign to start off with, which is fish and chips takeaways. This is a fish shop, which can be found in many suburbs across South Africa. It's usually on a Friday, it's filled with lots of blue-collared workers gather around to buy fish and chips. And this is close to the taxi rank, which is, like I said earlier on, is quite busy. Yeah, I reference a book which is called The Quiet Violence of Dreams. Very interesting book written by a South African author. Do look it up. Um, yeah, quite a good read. Paradise for the Lost over here. These words. This again references Paradise Lost. And so it's a play on words again where I use Paradise for the Lost. This over here, which says masala steak, it's really about this fictional character, which is he was created. He's a waiter, and the reason why I put the words masala steak here is that masala is firstly a spice, and it is applied to a very famous dish in Cape Town, which is called a Gatsby. And they will call it a masala steak Gatsby because its Gatsby is a long roll that contains lots of chips, deep fried chips, and it contains as well bits of meat or um, various ingredients that you can actually put onto the Gatsby itself. And so I was thinking when I was making this work about, because a Gatsby is such a casual, informal street food, really, this idea of a waiter serving this Gatsby to somebody in very sort of formal clothes. And there's a guy that works in one of the sort of fast food restaurants that I also sort of referenced. I think he's a shop owner. And he's always got a little bow tie on when he's standing by his store. So I sort of referenced him as well. On top here, we see this rainbow, and this is just a symbol once again of this idea of the Rainbow Nation, as I spoke about in one of my earlier paintings as well, where I referenced these tablets called rainbow tablets. This painting links to that one because of this. So it's again this concept of the Rainbow Nation and how many years later it has been quite a flawed concept with so much inequality still in South Africa. On the left-hand side over here, we see this character that's looking um, down at the waiter, and this character really represents the people, um, the everyday people, and he's got a poem that's written behind him here as well. I won't give too much information away about this poem. This piece over here as well is linked to this poem, and this poem is about the people, um, and it was done by a African American poet called Gil Scott Heron. And so I placed this poem down there, and then I took out some of the information. This words over here, this is actually soup, and soup brings reference to the soup kitchen in Wynberg at one of the welfare centers. Um, for sale, this is signs that are found in shop windows. This character over here actually represents what we would call in Cape Town a gachi. And a gachi is basically the person that hangs out of a taxi window, and he shouts the different names as to the destination where the taxi is going. He loads passengers. It is a very legendary figure in Cape Town in the informal taxi industry. And so his job really is to act as a guard, to get people to get into the taxi, to stop the taxi as well when people want to get out when they've reached their destination. Um, the word gachi actually comes from the word God, basically, not as in God, but as in God, like security guard. So he helps the driver of the taxi navigate on their route as they do various journeys. Um, and so this is quite an interesting character. And so he's got like a little loud hailer there because uh, they can be seen on the main roads of Cape Town, always shouting quite loudly the place or destination that they are going to. On top over here it's $2.99 each. This basically just gives reference to a sign in one of the shops also surrounding the taxi rank and Castletown Road. So that is basically the sum of this painting of Castletown Road. Thank you.